NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Dawuane Smoot, D-end, Illinois. Go Jags.
All right, by the way, Josh Scobie, one of the best golfers, kickers you've ever seen, but that's a separate story. Dawuane Smoot, the D-end out of Illinois.
I like Dawuane Smoot's tape 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Not this past year. He was a different player, and I think that's one thing scouts had to really weigh through. I watched him against Ohio State 2 years ago. He was dominant. In fact, they almost beat Ohio State 2 years ago because of how he and the rest of that defensive front dominated up front against the offensive line of the Buckeyes. This guy has ability. He plays with a really good motor. He's got powerful hands, and he can work through contact when he's embraced with an offensive lineman. That's one huge trait, I think, with pass rushers. When you're engaged, can you work through that contact and continue to work to the quarterback? He can do that, but he was not the same player this past year. It's going to be interesting to see how his career progresses, but clearly worth the pick in terms of value because Jacksonville, at 68 overall, look at this player and say, you know, we're going to take you in the top 70.
Todd, you kept giving him the benefit of the doubt all year because you knew what he did 2 years ago when he had those 8 sacks and 15 tackles for loss. This past year, though, didn't get it done on a consistent basis. The Nebraska game, he looked really good. Showed that spin move, good bend, explosive off the edge. Michigan game, couldn't make his presence felt, didn't disengage, needs to show better eye discipline, and he wasn't nearly as dominant. So if you can push the right buttons, he has shown during his career he can get after the quarterback. This year, though, he underachieved and was not the dominator you thought he would be.
Jacksonville trying to improve everywhere. Offensive line, running back, and now they try and get some defensive line help with Smoot. Okay, Los Angeles Rams getting their second pick of this draft. They went Gerald Everett, tight end, with the first pick. Let's see what happens now.
To announce the Los Angeles Rams selection, please welcome from Oregon State University, running back Steven Jackson.
With the 69th pick of the 2017 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Cooper Kupp, receiver, Eastern Washington.
So another weapon to go with Jared Goff, and you're thinking to yourself, man, Kupp, that name sounds familiar? Well, you would be correct. Kupp's father, Craig, and his grandfather both played in the NFL. Craig was a quarterback, a 5th-round pick out of the Giants in 1990. And grandfather, Jake, an offensive lineman, was a 9th-round pick out of the Cowboys in 1964. He played guard for 12 seasons and is in the Saints Hall of Fame. So the bloodlines are strong, Mel, for Cooper Kupp.
Real strong. Here's a kid had big numbers last 2 years ago, could have come out, decided to go back and put up huge numbers again. Look what he did against Oregon a couple games. Look what he did in the bad weather conditions. He's getting open and catching the ball. Nothing bothers this kid. He plays with great savvy, great intelligence as a football player, knows how to get open time, play, like I say, in the bad weather conditions. So he's not a guy that has to be 70 degrees and sunny in September, October for him to play well. He reminded me a little of Jordy Nelson. Now, I went back and I compared the numbers. Jordy Nelson had a 31 vertical. Cooper Kupp had a 31 vertical. Difference is Jordy Nelson ran a 4.51. Kupp ran a 4.62. This kid competes. He catches the football, and he will be a guy, Jared Goff. Get it in the vicinity, Jared. He'll catch the football.
And really soft hands, I noticed the first time I saw him live at the Senior Bowl. Nice job by Les Snead here of managing the draft. Moved back, knew he could get Gerald Everett in the 2nd round, gets an additional pick. A lot of teams were wondering. I got a couple calls. Is Cooper Kupp going to be available? Is he going late in the 2nd, or is he going earlier in the 3rd? So he knew the board, and then he could get Everett where he got him, and then also that he could wait and hold his water and get Kupp, a value player, here earlier in the 3rd round.
I think the profile of the player is important to consider here, because you figure this with Gerald Everett and Cooper Kupp. Now, where do you think those guys are going to play? They're going to play on the inside. This is where you want Jared Goff's primary receivers to be right now. Along with Robert Woods, who can play inside and outside, who has more of the speed. What you're doing is you're setting Jared Goff up for the shorter throws, the slants, the hitches, working the zones. It's a perfect kind of philosophy in terms of helping out a young quarterback.
All right, Minnesota is now going to the podium.
To announce the Minnesota Vikings selection, please welcome from the University of Maryland, free safety, Mediu Williams.
With the 70th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Pat Elflein, center, Ohio State University.
All right, so our second center has come off the board. Pat Elflein, who's anchored that position for the Buckeyes on a very successful team. What do we think about Elflein?
I like the kid. Smart kid, strong, veteran player, 3-year starter. And I'll tell you what, they asked him to do, Todd. You watched the Buckeyes last couple of years more than anybody. They asked this kid at times playing center to pull out like a left tackle and make the play and be able to block that defensive end coming off the edge and get it done and allow that play to have success. And he was able to do it. I think he wore a lot of hats on that line in terms of asked a lot of things that normal centers don't do, and he handled it very well. Pat Elflein, I thought, was a little better than Ethan Posick, who went earlier. I think he can anchor a line in the NFL for a long time. He loves the game, he's smart, and he's versatile. I think that's a heck of a pick for the Minnesota Vikings at pick 70.
Yeah, it's another good pick by Rick Spielman. You talk about a player who has 54 games under his belt. He's smart, he's tough. The coaches absolutely rave about his work ethic, his football IQ, and his leadership. I think Pat Elflein is a plug-and-play starter for day one for the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, clearly they need help on the offensive line. It was horrible last season. He was the lowest rated recruit for the Buckeyes in 2012. None of that matters now. He's a third-round selection by the Vikings. He said, I never thought that barely making to Ohio State, I'd be in this position.